I usually have to get everybody's attention, and it got quiet today. Welcome to the September 25th Oklahoma City Planning Commission meeting. And if you have cell phones, pagers, or similar devices, if you would either turn those off or silence them for us, we would appreciate that. And the first order of business is to approve our September 11th minutes. Commissioners?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes from September 11th. Cast your votes. And we need to hit some lights, Dan.
I abstain. I was not in attendance.
There's still 5 of us here, so that's adequate to approve the minutes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're missing somebody. No? Yeah. Oh, actually, you didn't vote. Okay, good. Those are approved. Next is continuous requests.
We have 2 uncontested requests. Item B33, which is SP 473, to defer to October 9th, and item B34, which is PC 10395, also to defer to October 9th.
Did anyone come today to talk to us about either of those items, 33 or 34, on our agenda?
Move approval of the uncontested request.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the uncontested continuances. Cast your votes. Those are approved.
We also have 10 new requests for continuance. Item B7, C 6635, to defer to October 9th. Item B8, which is PUD 1553, also defer to October 9th. Item B10, which is C 6641, to withdraw. Item B11, which is PUD 1545, defer to October 9th. Item B25, PUD 1559, defer to October 9th. Item B26, C 6659, defer to October 9th. Item B27, C 6655, defer to October 23rd. Item B28, C 6598, defer to October 23rd. Item B29, C 6632, defer to November 13th. And item B30, SP 468, to defer indefinitely.
I know some folks were here on item 10 today, which I've explained to them has been withdrawn. Is there anyone here on any of the other items, 7, 8, 10, excuse me, 11, never mind 10, 11, or 25 through 30? Sir?
We were. Item number 27.
If you give us your name and address and...
Cole O'Neill, 1 Okaji Carbon. Item number 27 is the plat of the falls. We just briefly wanted to kind of, I guess, express our concern for the development of that. We don't have currently enough information today to object or agree to it, and we'd like some further information before the development is approved.
Well, you might want to contact the applicant. We wouldn't be able to answer any questions that you have today.
Correct.
I think that's probably the...
So I guess if anything, we would object to the...
Pardon me?
I guess we would object to the passing of that approval.
Well, it's being continued. We're not going to hear it at all.
Okay.
So it won't be either approved or disapproved today. And Lance, who's sitting next to you to your left, can give you the contact information for the applicant so you can maybe get some questions answered or sit down and express your concerns.
We've got that information.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
With that, Mr. Chairman, I'll move the additional continuances, noting that that item he was talking about will be continued until October 23rd, so you have until the 23rd of October to get with the applicant.
Second.
And item 10 is withdrawn. Cast your votes, and the additional continuances and withdrawal are approved. Yeah.
On the consent docket today, we have 5 items. The first item is PUD SP 1369M for a specific plan of PUD 1369 located at 9212 North Kelly Avenue. Item 2 is PC 10392 to rezone 812 Southwest 85th Street from O2 to R1. Item 3 is ABC 819 for an ABC 2 overlay of PUD 78B located at 7001 West Hefner. Item 4 is C6661, the final plat of Chapel Creek, Section 8, located north of Hefner and east of County Line. And the last item is C-6662, the final plat of Monarch Ridge, located south of Northwest 164th and east of MacArthur.
Did anyone come today to address us on items 1 through 5 on our agenda?
Move the consent.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent docket. Cast your votes, and that's approved.
Under items requiring separate vote, item number 6 is SPUD 775 to rezone 16300 Muirfield Place from PUD 1104 to SPUD 775.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. Dwight Boder with Anchor Engineering on behalf of the applicant. And we have obviously met with everybody and got everything worked out. I do agree to the 1 TE, and we're happy to answer any questions.
Okay, so as we see it today, it's not changed from the packet we've got?
We have submitted the revised one.
Nick, you...
Oh, no, there should be the lots up in the north corner instead of the south.
Dwight, perhaps I'm confused. When we met before, Mr. Work was here representing some of the
Yes, sir.
homeowners.
Mr. Kelly Work, yes.
And I received a message from him that there was a meeting, that everything was worked out.
Yes, sir.
There were some changes to be made.
Yes.
Are those changes incorporated in this staff report, or do we need to add a TE for those changes? I guess that's the question.
Excuse me, just...
The SPUD report does reflect the changes. It's
Okay.
just the plat that doesn't have the changes in it. And the plat that we have on file is shown on the map
Very good.
because we didn't get a revised plat.
Okay, thank you.
Yes,
Okay, that answers our question then?
Move approval.
Okay. We have a motion and a second to approve item 6. Cast your votes, and it's approved. Thank you,
Thank you very
Mark.
much.
Items 7 and 8 were continued. Item 9 is SPUD 785 to rezone 5709 Northeast 138th Street from CHC to SPUD 785.
Good afternoon, Mark Grubb on behalf of the applicant. What this is today is an expansion of the SPUD to the north to allow for mini storage. We would agree to the Ts, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
No one signed up?
I have a question. Actually, I won't vote for your application when you want to put a telecommunication tower on this property. I would prefer that to be deleted. And then the second observation is on the landscaping. In your SPUD, you say the landscaping will be in accordance with the landscaping on industrial lots. And there's a notation in the staff report relating to landscaping of many storage facilities. I don't know what the difference is, but I assume that there is a difference between an industrial lot and a mini storage unit on the landscaping. And so whatever that is on landscaping, since this is on an appearance corridor, I would prefer for the more dense and appropriate landscaping to be on the mini storage rather than whatever an industrial lot would require, which I'm going to assume is really minimal. So would you agree to the landscaping for mini storage?
On the SPUD to the north, we had to make an administrative amendment on the SPUD to the north per the landscaping. What we did is we submitted a landscaping plan to staff, and we showed them what it would be in accordance with commercial, and it would there was not enough room for all the landscaping requirements, and staff had agreed to that, and what we plan to do on this is the exact same as what we were going to do on the north.
But have you submitted a landscaping plan to the staff on this one to the south?
I haven't yet because we're just approaching the rezoning. The property's under contract. I mean, we haven't purchased, we haven't started the engineering yet. Not until we get the rezoning approved.
But what I wouldn't want to see is that you're going to comply with I-1 regulations or the I-1 ordinance on landscaping, that you would comply with the landscaping requirements of a mini storage facility. Would you agree to that?
Yes, sir. And John, the telecommunication tower.
And
Okay. So you just totally object to the possibility of the telecommunication tower? It would have to meet all standards of telecommunication towers.
But you're putting a mini storage unit in.
That is-
And then you threw in, and by the way, I want to put up, if you're going to do that, it's just not like a bare bones, I can do that. If you're going to do a telecommunications tower, we get applications for those that have extraordinary detail of the reasons why, wherefore, et cetera, and it's going to be on an appearance corridor. There's nothing to prevent you if you get a contract from AT&T or whomever, that you
We
say,
agree to a specific plan on it?
well, but I just wouldn't like to see it part of the uses of this mini storage in this application. I just would delete it.
Mark, put it another way, the use unit, if we approve this, gives you, by right, come in and put telecommunication tower anywhere on this SPU.
Right.
Well, we could agree to
What we
it.
prefer to see is delete that use, and if and when you come up with a cell tower deal, make application, come to us and
For rezoning.
well, not really rezoning, but
That's what it would require.
I'm not sure it would.
Would have, leave it in there, but we make a notation that the telecommunication tower use requires a specific plan.
I wouldn't want to see it anywhere in this today. Come back in and then have an application either for a special permit or whatever you need to do. But you're doing an extension of mini storage. Let's just, when I read this, leave it at that, and then concerned about the landscaping, whatever that is, the appearance corridor issue comes in, not I-1, but mini storage landscaping, whatever that is, and I assume that that's more than what I-1 would be. I don't know.
Okay.
Okay. Well, in that connection, with the deletion of telecommunication tower and the landscaping required by mini storage added to this application, I move approval.
Second the motion. We have a motion and a second to approve item 9 as conditioned. Cast your votes, and it's approved.
Thank you.
Item 10 was withdrawn, item 11 was continued, so item 12 is PUD 1556 to rezone 1400 East Memorial Road from R1 to PUD 1556.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Chris Anderson with S&C Consulting Engineers. Also have Kit Wakely representing the development company here. As you remember at our last meeting, this item was continued so that we could have a meeting with the neighbors that abut on the east side of this project. The following Monday after that, we did meet with those neighbors in the evening, had a very good, productive meeting, agreed to some things that the neighbors asked us. In particular, we need to address item number 2, or TE number 2, on the landscaping. What we've agreed to is on all of the track, we want to meet the existing Oklahoma City landscape ordinances, except on the east boundary, which is the boundary adjacent to the existing neighbors, and we do agree to a 15-foot landscape buffer along that edge, and also we've agreed to an 8-foot high masonry panel wall adjacent to the neighbors, and that was at their request.
Okay.
And with that, I'll answer any other questions you have.
Donna Neal has signed up to speak on this. And again, if you give us your name and address, please, for the record.
Yes, I'm Donna Neal. I live at 13503 Steeplechase Circle, and my home backs up to the property on kind of the southeast corner. And we did go out last week and got all our neighbors together and met with the developers. And he did state correctly, one thing that I did want to clarify and make sure that they have the same intent is it was to be a preformed concrete fence type material, as Mr. Gales had
That's what he just told us.
suggested. Yeah, okay, I wasn't sure I heard that right. So I think from a safety standpoint and everything, that really helped everyone out. And we had, we discussed a number of things, and so One thing that I feel like we did get a good feeling from them that they will enlist us as in kind of an advisory capacity on the development as it grows and comes to fruition. So that is what I'm expecting, to hold them accountable, to let us know when things are going to happen, so we can deal with environmental concerns during construction and so forth, because we are so closely proximate. So I have actually signatures from most of my neighbors that they are in agreement. I wasn't able to get back to everyone on that, but we are standing off any objections we have.
Well, we thank the developer and you and your neighbors for sitting down and working out the things that were of concern to both of you. So thank you very much.
Move. Wait, I've got a question for Chris. When you say there's a 15-foot landscape buffer, what's in that 15 feet? What space of trees or what shrubs or what will you put in a 15-foot landscape?
I don't know that we haven't developed a specific landscape plan along there yet. We had a sketch that showed trees along there, but we don't have the specific landscape plan yet.
Well, but Chris, won't that landscape, your 8-foot solid fence is going to be on the property line, correct?
Correct.
So the landscape buffer is going to be inside the...
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yes.
I just was curious as to when you say landscape buffer, trees, bushes, I mean, you've got to have them above 8 feet. They've got to be a big enough tree to where you're... I don't know. I just was curious if you have developed it. But as the chairman says, the cooperation between you and the neighborhood, that was really good, and that's what we like to see. Thank you.
There are no more questions. Move for adoption. Move for adoption.
With the addition to the TE2 for the 8-foot...
8-foot fence with the...
Well, the buffer's in there. It's just the solid fence, not...
Okay.
Right.
Just as described.
Okay, so did I get a second?
Second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second to approve item 12 as conditioned, and thank you, Chris. And it's approved.
Item 13 is C 6657, the final plat of Hefner Woods on the Lake, Phase 1, located north of Hefner Road and east of Kelly Avenue.
Good afternoon, Barry Lodge, Red Rock Engineering, representing the applicant. We have looked through the TEs, staff report, have no objection to the TEs, and so be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Commissioners, no one signed up.
Mr. Chairman, and staff notes that this is in compliance with the preliminary. I'll move approval.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve item 13. Cast your votes, and it's approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 14 is PC 10389 to rezone 200 North McCormick Avenue from SPUD 725 to the I-3 Heavy Industrial District.
Good afternoon, David Box, 522 Colcord Drive, here on behalf of the applicant. Also with me is Scott Stonebreaker. This is an application to basically revert this piece of property back to its original I-3 zoning district. The commission will remember some time ago there was a group that gained approval for SPUD 725. In that SPUD, it has all I-3 uses and adds the car crushing use. What this application does is basically removes the car crushing use. What the applicant did in that is put significant limitations on the property with height of building, size of building, that would be inconsistent with industrial zoning. My client owns all the property to the north, and so this abuts their property. It's just an expansion of their property. Staff has recommended approval. We're here to answer any questions.
I'll move for approval.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve item 14. Cast your votes. That's approved.
Thank you.
Item 15 is PC 10393 to rezone 11903 from Southwest 26th Street from RMH1 zoning district to the R1 single family district.
Mark Grubbs on behalf of the applicant. This is just a condition of the preliminary plat to rezone this from RMH1 to R1. We would ask for your approval.
I'll move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve item 15. Cast your votes. That's approved.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 16, PC 10394 to rezone 7501 East Hefner from AA to RA.
My name is Emma Tippett, and I live at 7501 East Hefner Road in Oklahoma City, and I just want to rezone that little 5 acres so I can sell part of it off.
And you're going to sell it to your neighbor?
Yes, I'm going to sell it to my neighbor because he wants to keep other people from buying it. And I want to take a trip, so I said, okay.
Good plan.
This is pretty straightforward. We move for adoption.
We have a motion and a second to approve item 16. Cast your votes, and you're approved. Thank you. Enjoy your trip.
Thank you.
Item 17 is CE 893 to close portions of the north and south rights-of-way of West Park Place between North Walker Avenue and North Hudson Avenue.
Paul Lefevre for the applicant. This is a partial street closing application for a 60-foot platted street that has only been open roughly 22 feet. This property abuts the ongoing construction of the Dust Bowl bowling alley, which actually opens onto 10th Street, and a German beer garden, which opens onto Park Place, and those will be opening up very soon. This will allow parking along the closed areas of Park Place.
Anybody sign up?
No one signed up.
Okay, I have a comment, Paul. Sorry I missed your phone calls, but I don't have any problems at all with this application. So we would have had a nice visit, and I would move approval of the application.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve item 17. Cast your votes, and it's approved. Thank you.
Item 18 is C 6656, the preliminary plat of Santa Fe Crossings Industrial Park located east of Santa Fe Avenue and south of Northeast 150th Street.
Mr. Chairman and members of the Commission, Brian Quinn with Hewitt Zollers representing the applicant. Small industrial park. There are 3 TEs. We agree with TEs number 1 and 3, and number 2 I need a variance.
No one signed up. Variance to number 2.
Move for adoption with,
We have to do the variance separately.
yeah, we got to prove the variance separate.
Yes.
Okay.
Second. So we have a motion and a second to approve the variance to T number 2. Cast your votes. That's approved. Now
we move for adoption for the variance?
for the case.
Okay.
We did the
For the whole
variance
thing,
already.
okay. So we move for adoption.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve item 18. Cast your votes. And you're approved.
Thank you.
Item 19 is C 6650, the final plat of Palermo Place, Section 3, located south of Southwest 134th Street and west of Western.
Good afternoon, David Box, 522 Colcord Drive, here on behalf of the applicant. Chris Anderson is also here with me. This is a final plat of the Palermo development, a development that by now the Commission is more than aware of. I think this has been 2 years now that there's been some form of application before the Commission. This represents the next to last final plat that this Commission will see. There are a series of TEs, all of which we are in agreement with. But on TE number 6, staff has asked for a clarification on how the southern fence will be constructed. It will be constructed, as each lot is built out. That particular piece will be constructed, and we understand we can't get a CO until that is accomplished. So in our PUD for this site, we agreed to some enhanced fencing with some masonry materials, so that will be consistent with that, and it'll be done as we move along with each lot. Be happy to answer any questions.
What did you determine about Blackwelder and where it becomes a private street? We talked about that the other day.
Yes. Where you see Blackwelder curve on the map that's on the screen, it ceases to be a public street at that point. It becomes privatized. It's gated. It's not in great condition, and it dumps out onto the section line to the south, but I think it might be gated down there as well. And as the Commission knows, the Blackwelder is in bad shape. It has a bridge somewhere north of this plat that really only can handle one car at a time. We would prefer not to do a sidewalk because it literally will go nowhere, and it is privatized and gated. Nobody will utilize this sidewalk. And because of the bridge, it would have to, a portion of it will never connect because the person north of us won't build the sidewalk over the creek. So we would prefer not to do it if it was the commission's will.
Todd, any thoughts?
I certainly don't think that there should be a sidewalk on Blackwelder. I know this area pretty well. That is not something that I just don't think we want this community coming out on Blackwelder. Certainly don't want these families that have children coming out on the Blackwelder and trying to cross 134th Street to go to the school. So it just doesn't seem like it's a good idea to me. It's not once they get to the bridge, it is, I mean, that is a very, that's pretty liberal use of it being a bridge. It's close, but I wouldn't drive over it, so I would not be in favor of sidewalks.
Okay.
We would happily delete TE number 4.
Any other discussion, Commissioners? Terry?
You will have to administratively amend the PUD then, because it requires sidewalks.
The PUD generally references sidewalks along arterials. We'd be happy to administratively amend that.
Okay. Sounds fine. No one signed up. Anything else?
I'll move approval of the application deleting TE4, noting that you'll have to administratively amend that.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve item 19, deleting TE number 4. Cast your votes, and that's approved.
Thank you.
Item 20 is C6660, final plat of Featherstone Addition, Section 10, located north of southwest 164th Street and west of Western Avenue.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Chris Anderson again with SNC Consulting Engineers representing the developer. I've read the TEs. I do need to talk about TE number 3, and I guess I also need to ask if Mike Wilson is here with the fire department or if he's talked with Terry. There he is right there. His answer will determine whether I need to ask for a continuance or not on this due to TE number 3. I provided an exhibit for an emergency access road to take care of that. And the last conversation I had with Mike this morning, he was trying to track down the fire chief to get an answer. So,
where would that temporary road be?
From off of Moorfield Road, it comes off the street.
While we're passing this around, we can all see it, but I'd like to have fire's input on whether they think that this is going to work, if it's adequate or not adequate.
Mike Wilson with the Fire Marshal's Office. We haven't had a chance to meet with the applicant yet about the proposed roads. We have looked at it and have concerns about the long length, which utilizes the existing oil access road going to the south. So at this time, we aren't in favor of approving this until we've had a chance to meet with them and talk about how this is going to be there, how long it's going to be there, how it may be torn up when the next section is put in, and then we'll lose our access. So we just have concerns about that kind of thing.
Well, let me ask a question on this, Mike, or Chris, one of you. We're utilizing an oil access road.
Yes, sir.
I've seen those as very good, solid, and I've seen them as just awful, and I'll tell you, we couldn't get any fire apparatus down some of the ones I've seen. So is this road to our hard surface standard to support a fire?
Yes, sir, Commissioner Gills. As a matter of fact, I will point out that when we did the first phase, we just had the access off of Western, and we came down, we had just the first stub coming to the south. And at that time, we used the entire length of the oil field road as the emergency access into that plat. And at this time, we have much more. We've got pavement from the south, so we've got more of it paved, and it is in good shape, and it was used before.
Well, it was used before, and it may or may not have been to standard before. My question is it standard to standard now and going forward? It sounds like you need a continuance to me.
Yeah, I was going to ask for that anyway, since Mike said they're not comfortable with it yet. I'd like a chance to meet with him, maybe go out there and look at the road, make sure that everybody's comfortable with it.
But I respect your opinion on what the fire department would or would not like, but when I looked at this, I thought, how the heck where's a fire truck going to find these people? You know, it just, the meandering roads and the emergency access gravel that you're talking about, et cetera. If I were you guys, the fire department, I'd want to have a further discussion about just exactly how I can get in there if there's a fire or if there's not. And I assume that there's no agreement with Featherstone, the development, to sprinkle these houses.
No, that's correct.
And so if you sprinkle the houses, then this concern that Mike has raised, or the concern about the layout, kind of dissipates, doesn't it? It does.
Yeah.
It does.
We've had that. Go ahead.
It would be difficult when we have part of a subdivision sprinkled and part not. It becomes an enforcement issue more along the lines of getting the building permits and everything. So that's not, greatly desirable, but it is a possibility.
Are you comfortable with this?
No, that's why I say we'd like to meet with them, and I haven't had a chance to even look at the road or
all right.
talk about how we get in there.
I'm great at continuing it. Okay.
So 2 weeks enough, or do you need more time?
No, I think 2 weeks is fine.
All right.
All right, so the first meeting in October then? Okay.
Move to continue item 20 to first meeting in October.
Need a second?
Second motion.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to continue item 20 to October 9th.
And
Cast your votes.
That's a warrant.
It's approved.
Item 21 is C6663, the final plat of Southwest 59th Industrial Park, located south of Southwest 59th and east of Council Road.
Hi, Cindy.
Hi, Cindy Wright with Johnson & Associates. I'm not Tim. He's taking some much-deserved time off. I'm here representing the applicant for approval of this minor subdivision for an industrial park. We've read the TEs. We agree with all the TEs and would ask for approval of the variance for the length of the cul-de-sac.
No one has signed up.
Move approval.
Move the variance first.
Oh, move approval of the variance.
Second.
A motion and a second to approve the variance, TE3. Cast your votes. That's approved.
Move approval of the application.
Second.
Second motion.
We have a motion and a second to approve item 21. Cast your votes. And you're approved. Thank you.
Item 22 is C6665, the final plat of Rush Brook, Section 2, south of Northwest 192nd and east of Western.
Good afternoon. Kendall Dillon with Crafton Toll, representing the applicant. And this is a final plat. We're in agreement with all the TEs. On TE number 3, we would request a variance for the centerline distance for centerline offsets. On the original preliminary plat, there's I don't know if you can tell on that map, but in the staff report, if you look, just east of Trailview Way and south of Northwest 186th Street, there is an existing small pond there. And originally, we were going to go ahead and fill it in and plat lots over the top of it, but since my client has decided and would like to preserve the pond, and in doing so, we've had to take and kind of curve Northwest 186 to the kind of skirt around the north end of that existing pond. And because of that, we've shifted Trailview Way to the south of 186 back to the west, and we'd like to keep the Trailview Way headed north from 186 out of that series of curves. So with that, like I said, we've got it set up currently to be 75 feet, which I know is used to be your code, is no longer, but we would respectfully request that variance.
Commissioners, no one has signed up. Pond, no pond, huh?
Can we move for adoption?
Got a variance again.
Oh, it's a variance. Okay, move for the variance. Approval of the variance.
We have a motion and a second to approve the variance. Cast your votes. That's approved.
A move for the adoption of the whole thing.
We have a motion and a second to approve item 22. Cast your votes. And you're approved.
Thank you.
Item 23 is C6666, the final plat of Summer Hill Phase 4, north of Britton Road and east of Mustang Road.
Again, for the record, Kendall Dillon with Craft and Toll, representing the applicant, and another final plat, and we are in agreement with the TEs, and would ask for your approval.
Will you give us a cul-de-sac then?
Yes,
Okay.
certainly will.
So, Kendall, to be clear, when you cul-de-sac Timberland Lane, the area to the, well, through that stub that you're cul-de-sacing is not developable where it goes down to that pond?
That's correct.
Okay, very good.
Okay. No one signed up?
Move approval.
We have a motion and a second to approve item 23. Cast your votes. That's approved. Thank you.
Item 24 is C6668, final plat of Country Place Addition, Section 12, located south of Southwest 134th and west of Pennsylvania.
Good afternoon, Chris Anderson, again with SMC Consulting Engineers representing the developer. We have read the TEs and agree with them, except for number 3, has to do with some existing road approaches. I discussed this with Stuart Chai a couple of days ago and explained what we were trying to do. We're coming off, good, you got the sketch up there showing how the plan is to come off with a shared common driveway, private driveway going to the houses. And he said he was okay with that as long as we came back and added an easement on the plat for showing the shared common drive, and we agreed to that.
And nobody signed up, Commissioners?
And what you've agreed to is what's shown on the screen at this point?
Yes, sir. Now, in talking with the developer just before I came here, he also pointed out that some of those driveways may flip to the south side instead of being on the north side of the house, but it would still be the shared common driveways.
Thank you.
So, Chris, that would be, I'm going to recommend approval, deleting TE3, and, John, do we need to include a TE, replace that TE?
I don't think we need to replace it.
Well, what Stuart asked for was to agree to add an easement on the plat for the private shared driveway, and I agreed to do that.
So, all right, so we'll add a T reserving the easement then.
Adding a TE as stated.
Okay. We have a motion and a second to approve item 24. Cast your votes. That's approved.
Thank you.
Items 25 through 30 were continued. Item 31 is the adoption of the proposed capital improvement plan for fiscal year 2015 to 2019. And I believe Mike's group is here to discuss that, or Doug Dowler.
Yeah. Commissioners, you'll recall we've had several study sessions where each of the departments has made a presentation to us. Doug, I don't think we need...
Right. I wasn't planning to give a presentation or that sort of thing, but I just wanted to make myself available. I'm Doug Dowler. I'm the budget director. We've put forward the 5-year CIP plan for your consideration and recommendation. I believe the planning department has reviewed the document as well, and they recommend approval of that as well. And I'd just be here to answer any questions if you have any. And then the next step will be to go to the City Council for their review and approval as well.
Chairman, I have no questions. I'd move adoption.
We have a motion and a second to adopt the CIP plan. Cast your votes. And it is done.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Doug.
Appreciate it.
Item 32 is an ordinance for public hearing regarding the water system development charge, and I believe Marcia Slaughter is here to discuss this item.
Can we just say it's about time, Marcia? How's that?
Thank you. I'd be happy to sit down. The state law requires that the Planning Commission hold a public hearing on fees related to land development. The Water and Wastewater, the Water Utilities Trust has reviewed a cost of service study completed on their behalf. The cost of service study used standard approaches used by water and wastewater utilities throughout the country to identify the costs and assign methods for repayment of those costs by customers of all types through a variety of fees. I want to stress the detailed costs for investments were outlined and assigned through, again, a national process that other utilities use that's well vetted. They identified costs for different customer groups, residential, inside and outside the city, wholesale customers who are outside the city, non-residential customers of other types, and other outside city customers. Yeah, it's hidden somewhere in there, I feel confident, at the bottom. It starts with Planning Commission. Yeah, on the main screen, it starts with, it's an individual file, not in any of the groups. It's titled Planning Commission. My apologies. So I brought you a couple of examples of impact fee changes. Essentially what's going to happen, what's proposed, no change to the wastewater fee, which runs an average around 100, we think, around 100, probably around $250 for a house today. It's the same that it's been since the 1980s. What's proposed to increase is the water impact fee, and that's because we're making huge investments in the water system over the next 15 years. Beginning this year, as you've seen in the capital program. So the water fee is proposed to increase from $100 for a single-family residence, standard-sized meter, which is 5/8 or 3/4 inch water meter. Thank you. That's exactly where we are. To $400 this fall, or at ordinance approval. A year later, to increase another $300 to $700, and finally to increase to a total of $1,000 in fall of 2017. What that does for us actually is recover under 20% what we estimate the cost to be, so for those kinds of expenses. Here's a table that shows, again, for individual meter sizes. For those of you who see larger meters, there are about 300 meters in the system that are 6-inch, and then above 6-inch, there are only 17 more meters. So what we're showing you here in this slide is virtually everything in the system. About 86% of all the meters in the system who would have been charged this fee are in the 5/8 by 3/4 inch at the first, they're at the lowest tier. If you put in a sprinkler system and it were going to need a larger meter combined with your house, and you put in a 1-inch meter or even a 1.5 inch, you can see that over time those go up more, and that's about the overall demand on the water system that's placed by those larger meters. So going back, in a focus group meeting that we had, we were asked, well, what happens for larger than the base meter size? How do we compare with others? You can see that Oklahoma City currently is in about the middle of the pack for 2-inch sized meter. We assumed no change in the wastewater fee because that's what's happening, and looked at a typical 2-inch meter from which we collected a system impact fee, and calculate the water. So again, today it would be $1,868, and next year it would be $3,466. Similarly, for house-sized meters, 5/8 by 3/4, again, the 86% of the system. Today, we're the lowest on the scale at $350. Typically, that generates an income of about $1.5 million a year, by the way. In 2017, if everything gets approved, we'd still be below the average of these various cities, but we'd be higher again at about $1,250. Total cost for single-family residents about $6,500. We're asking for $1,250, and we've fed those other costs into the overall income of the water and wastewater utilities proposed. Some of that's in per gallon charges. Some of it's in other user fees. I'd be happy to answer questions.
Marcia, this is more of a comment than a question, and it's not necessarily just the water. We've had this $100 fee for virtually ever.
1987, I believe.
Right. And we seem to fall into this trap of not wanting, and again, not just water, I'm speaking city across the board when we talk about fees. We seem to be very reluctant to raise our fees in an orderly manner, and then all of a sudden we want one major increase. A few years ago, we had some dramatic increases in fees because they frankly hadn't been raised in eons. Same thing here. As the chairman said, about time, yes, it is, and I like your phase-in here. I think this is a good plan, and there's no other discussion or comment. I'd move it that we receive the report.
I have a question on, and I agree with Commissioner Gales that $100 has been there for ad nauseum, and yet we continue to, with your guidance, try to find water and distribute water and the cost of all of that, and it's still $100 a meter. And then this phase, in connection with the graph that you showed, here's Edmond and Norman, or the regional maps, Denver, Albuquerque, Wichita. We're still way behind what fees are charged for what you provide. I approve totally what you're doing. I just think it's not enough. I mean, really, because we really you've got a lot of expenditures to get this thing in order, and this really isn't enough, but it is what it is.
Thank you. I think the trust deliberated for a great deal of time about how to proceed with implementing a significant change, and chose to go slowly. We are, of course, as an operating business, concerned about our business position, or we don't want to decrease the number of customers that come to Oklahoma City and bring us additional income to operate. So it's a tough, I think it was a very tough discussion for them, and they chose a balance of expenses for everyone as opposed to loading it all in one place.
Yeah.
Was there any discussion, Marcia, about a COLA factor, just an inflation adjuster for these rates, or are they just going to come back in 10 years and try and do this again? That's a really good question. So we bring forward additional rate proposals periodically. And in this case, the trust has only recommended increasing the water fee at this time and to $1,000 after a total of 3 years. At about that same time, we'll be bringing them information about how the new inclining block rates are working and whether they're both generating income and decreasing peak demand in the water system. So we'll get a chance to rework the study. We would typically do it every 10 years, but in this case, because the inclining blocks are brand new to us, and we want to make certain that we're careful to generate enough money and not overcharge our customers, we'll be again coming back with the detailed analysis at about the same time. You'll have another chance in a few years to take a look at it again, I think. We have a motion to receive the report. We need a second. Okay. Cast your votes, and we have received the report formally. There you are.
Items 33 and 34 were both continued, so those are all of our cases for individual consideration.
Okay. Planning Commission members, anything for discussion today?
I do have a question. On the application that we just heard, number 13, that was the final plat of an R1 approval that we did a preliminary plat approval some time ago, allowing for 4,300 square feet lots in an R1 zoning area. The discussion I had this week with one of the lawyers and one of the developers of a tract, the concern is that a few of the lots on this one plat were going to be 5,200 feet. would we agree to that? Obviously, we agree to this all the time. So what's the purpose of having square footage under R1 if we just put a 4,300 square foot and they say that's okay? I mean, I'm really curious about, this may have to do with something about the comprehensive plan. Is the same adjustment with rural areas, the same adjustment might go for R1 areas, because if this is 1,700 square feet less than what's required in an R1.
Well, but isn't this in a PUD, Bob, and didn't we approve that in the PUD?
Yeah, but.
And so, you know, I don't remember item 13, but presumably, when we heard the PUD, they came forth and they said, in tract 1, we want this size lot.
Right.
We're going to build, our base zoning is going to be R1, but we want this size lot here, this size lot there, and we approved that. So then the preliminary plat comes along, consistent with the PUD. Now the final plat comes along, consistent with the preliminary. So our bite at the apple is at the PUD level.
Well, but that's kind of my rhetorical question. If we have a 6,000 square foot minimum R1 zoning lot, why are we reducing it to 1,700 by 1,700 square feet?
I would take maybe a slightly different point of view and go back to a comment earlier in the study session where we're going to be looking at potentially the same percentage of single-family residences in the next 10 years pattern-wise as we've seen in the past. But people are going to be looking in some cases, or maybe many cases based on the demographic analysis, for smaller lots and smaller homes because there are going to be 1 and 2 people living in them, and they'll either be seniors or young folks. And maybe there's an argument that R1 doesn't need an exact designation even,
well,
frankly.
Again,
that's kind of my point.
The existing straight R1 minimum is 6,000 feet.
Right.
If someone wants to do something different, as these people obviously did,
They put a PUD on it.
They put it in a PUD,
Right.
come and make their case for that, and if it makes sense, we approve it, which obviously we did, and that's what this reflects. But conversely, if you take that limitation off,
John's, that suggestion.
And the suggestion I'm going is, do we want to have a minimum standard lot size across the city of 4,000 feet? Perhaps we do.
It's to be considered.
Perhaps we don't. But, you know, the R1 designation, by definition, needs a floor. The floor today happens to be 6,000 feet.
And also what I do like is for applicants to come in with a PUD. I like that a whole lot. Okay. But anyway, that's just food for thought about, because we do approve smaller lots for R1 under PUDs, and for good reason. Okay. That's all. I'll move to adjourn whenever you'd like to.
Well, no comment. We do have to hear from the Planning Department, the Development Services, and Municipal Counselor if they have anything.
The only thing that I might have is I think that last Planning Commission, you were asking about the date of the joint City Council Planning Commission workshop, which will be set for October 14th from 8:30 to 11 at the Cox Center. And you'll receive notice probably in your inbox today from Justin with the details on that.
Okay, thank you. Development Services? Municipal Counselor? Now, motion to adjourn. We're adjourned at 2:25, and it still took 15 minutes longer than I thought it would.